Good morning, everyone. Welcome to American Scouser's morning coffee or tea with American Scouser. It's Wednesday, so I'm back to being the greatest dad because that's what I do on Wednesdays. And with us this week, as always, I was gonna say, but kind of like Fridays, deja vu here. We have Anan, who's a new dad, right? What's going on, man?
Good morning. Good morning. Yes, I am a new dad, and I haven't slept yet because the baby won't let me sleep. So there's that.
Really, we
Congrats,
had to
man.
take yeah, forget we're done with the kids part for the most part. We're about to be actually empty nesters starting this September. Yes, I'm that freaking old. Good morning, Alan. And but it was storming here last night, so the dogs were not too happy. So Stitch and Leo over here. Stitch is the dedicated American Scouser mascots, and then Leo is the new character. But yeah, they were not too happy. So Wifey and I had to take turns sleeping downstairs because they're cool if you're down there with them. Because like we're gonna protect them from the thunder if something happens, whereas I'm running the other way. But John is with us, who's still a youngin. He's still in the works. What's going on, man?
I'm good. I'm happy it's hump day. Got the Liverpool mug here and some coffee. Uh, Glad that it's a Wednesday. Ready for some
Glad that it's a
headlines.
Wednesday is a line
Yes.
you don't hear very often. Even Ryan is on time this morning. So good morning, Ryan. Okay, welcome everyone. Let's get to the headlines. So last night, John sent me a couple of the headlines that we would probably take a look at, and one of them was like, "Yeah, Jordan Henderson's not going anywhere," kind of a thing. I think it was from Anfield Edition or somewhere like that, right? Like somebody had tweeted it out. It is Anfield Edition, yes. Um, but this morning, kind of wake up to this kind of stuff where he's considering it. I actually, as a headline, had was going to talk about training videos that I've seen so far with the boys training and doing the test and stuff. And I was going to say handle looks totally different, like body shape wise, totally different. There's like videos of like Mo and Robo making fun of his six pack and stuff like that. And I was like, wow, he's taking this pretty seriously, that we're kind of taking it as he's definitely not going to be in the 11. He's going to come in these last 20 minutes. He must have been listening us and getting pissed. What do you say about all these, John? Is it just a matter of, I mean, it's obvious, yeah, if he wants to, he can go there, but doesn't sound like or doesn't look like a guy who is going into a retirement league.
No, absolutely. Like to your point, he looks absolutely shredded. I'm actually glad to see him, kind of take up a lot of different things. I know he's been taking a lot of boxing as well. I've been seeing some videos, and Henderson didn't look as fit as he could have last year. I mean, to be fair, the entire midfield looked like they couldn't be that they weren't as fit as they could be last year. So, it's good to see him, sort of leading by example, showing everyone that, oh, I'm still the captain here. I'm doing what I can to get back in shape and everything. So it's a good thing to see him come into the season incredibly prepared, incredibly shredded. But again, going back to my point last Friday's show, this whole thing about him leaving again. We just lost our vice captain. We're not gonna lose our captain this year. So all of those rumors, I feel, and I'm gonna go out on a limb and risk my neck here. It's all absolute baloney. He's not leaving.
Yeah, I got the same feeling when I was watching those, and is the fact that he looks like a guy who came there to say to people like who's starting to make an 11 and automatically putting McAllister will be there and like Dominic will be there and stuff like that. He almost looked like a guy who came in and said, "You guys can make up all your lineups you want. I'm going to be there. Check this out," kind of a look.
Right. Yeah. Let's start with, you probably won't be able to see what the back says, but I'm going to try my best. That's what it says. That's what it says.
I was almost hoping, like Thiago was like, "Wait,
as,
what? We can still go?"
as long as he's safe, we're good. But here's the thing. There's two ways to look at what's going on right now. There's really two ways. There's way number one, Henderson accepting that he's going to be the last 20 minutes, 25 minutes. He's going to be the guy coming off the bench for one more season, then maybe next season going to Sunderland or Southampton or whoever it is. Or he can accept the role of Stevie G wants to sign me. I'm going to get, the word is double what I'm getting paid, and it's a 2.5-year contract. So does he want to be the 20-minute player? Or does he want to go to a new league and explore the league, make a ton of money, and most importantly, have a guaranteed playing spot. He's not going to be on a bench, and I think Hendo's gone. I don't think he stays. They're saying within the next 48 hours he decides. Listen, I am not going to do what John did and put my name on the line here because y'all will come back to bite me in the butt. But I will say, based on what we've been seeing the last 24 hours, I think Hendo goes, plays under Stevie G, tries a new league, gets a ton of money, and most importantly, gets guaranteed playing time. The sentiment is gone. Yes, he's the captain. We love him. I actually don't want him to go, but I think he's on his way out. I think he's on his way out. And I think we're going to sign 2 more midfielders, and we're just bringing the funds in. That's what's going on.
So you don't think the shredded version of Hendo says, shove the 20 minutes where the shine don't shine? I'm going to be starting on this team. I'm the captain. I'm going to start. I'm going to lead. It just did not look like a guy that says, yeah, you know what? It's time for retirement.
I just don't think that's his call anymore. Sentimental Club seems to be gone. We've signed 2 midfielders. The word is there's 2 more coming, or at least 1. And we saw the report that came out yesterday. It says out of all the midfielders, Fabinho's the only untouchable one. It wasn't Henderson. It wasn't Thiago. I think Henderson goes, and I still think there's a big possibility in which Thiago goes as well. But yeah, it's not his call anymore. I think Jurgen is out to win it because he probably saw all the tweets calling him a sentimental old guy, and he's just over it. I love Hendo. I'm gonna miss that shuffle.
Call anymore? Really, John? He says he's just trying to sell Hendo, get the money from there, so we end up keeping Thiago. He has ulterior motives, so I know where he's doing there. But I just feel like there's no way in a club that doesn't force freaking Keita and Ox out, right, which I realize the Saudi market was not there at the time to fork out and send the money for it.
Right.
I just don't see any way. I mean, this has to be not nobody's but Henderson's call for me.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't see in any way where the club says, well, sorry, man, that's a lot of money. You should really
go. So the big thing that was noted today is that Henderson said he's not interested the last couple of days. And then they said the club, Al Ittifaq, will not make an offer unless they get actual interest from the player. And today, they're saying the club is making an offer, which means that there is interest from the player. And have we not considered that Stevie G is like Liverpool born and bred, and that's his club, and he thinks it's time for Hendo to go, just like a lot of the people out? Have we not considered that? That he's like, yeah, all right, I'll do you a favor. And he's like, yeah, all right. And then he's just going to go ahead and sign Hendo to his club because he needs to make a marquee signing. And he's not Al Hilal, Al Ahli. They're not going to make those big signings. I'm familiar with the Saudi League. They're not going to make those big signings because they don't have that money coming from the Saudi investment fund. So they're going to make a signing that'll cost a good 30, 40 million, and it'll be just like one of it. So why not make it a good story for Stevie G to say he brought a Liverpool captain, brought in a Liverpool captain, England international. There's a whole motive. Stevie G is trying to get Hendo out of there. We're keeping Thiago at Liverpool. It's all good stuff.
I think you're on mute, Tim.
You're muted.
Tim, you're on mute.
You're still on.
First of all, I would think it would be more like Henderson, maybe, even if they asked for an offer, they're like, well, let's see what they got. But, I mean, we talked about this before, how big of an attraction, Henderson would be. And I understand the captain bringing the captain who's carrying a small box with another miniature captain in it's kind of a conundrum there. Yeah. But I just don't see Henderson going. Maybe that's just me. I feel like Stevie G might be interested because I can see if I'm starting a team and I want the leader, who better? Because I still would argue that Henderson has been not the same player, but I feel a better captain than Gerard over this time. Mateo says, if you ask Michelle, there's a lot of attraction there. No chin issue, no. But so okay, so John, you're saying Hendo's staying, and this guy is already selling him off to Thiago somehow.
Well, Anand makes some great points, but we have to look at it from a club thing. We can't have Van Dijk as our permanent captain. He's a decent leader, right? But I think he's way different than what Henderson does. I feel like his leadership style is obviously something that can't be measured by numbers and all that. So I think it might actually be detrimental to our team if we are to let him go. And I think Klopp recognizes that. Now, again, to Anand's point, if Hendo himself wants to leave, right? Obviously, we don't know any of this, but the fact that, the club offered, they might have sent an offer, we're talking about an entirely different thing, because if the guy himself wants to leave, then what can we do? Because, better promise of better money, promise of a permanent role in the starting 11. Obviously, career-wise, it's better for him, but the way that Henderson prepared for this, the way Henderson prepared for this upcoming season, getting shredded and all that, is, to your point, Tim, is him telling Klopp that, oh, I'm still in the running. You can still consider me for the 11. Like, I'm not done. And and as much as, again, there is a possibility, but I still think he stays.
And I do want to say, it's not that Hendo wants out. He's like, screw this team. It's that he's looking and saying, maybe there is no role for me here. So more money, more minutes. Maybe it's time to go. Thiago's the greatest.
Dude,
you never know.
More minutes in Saudi Arabia. I mean, you guys are making it sound like he's going to I don't know, like Southampton or going to Brighton or something like that.
Yeah.
And he's going. I mean, I would value 20 minutes in the Premier League more than 90 minutes in the Saudi, and I would think Henderson would too, especially. He can go off to the sunset. I know, like, Mateusz always fantasizes about him going back to Sunderland, which is still part of the, riding off to the sunset as one of the most, probably the most decorated Liverpool captain now, having won everything under the sun, and he'll win the Europa this year, so we can throw that in there as well. Riding off in the sunset, maybe stopping by Sunderland as he rides away, and he can retire that way, as opposed to him going to Saudi Arabia and then maybe coming back to Sunderland or something like that. Just feels like just tarnishes that entire.
Yeah. And to your point, I'd rather be a guy on the bench than play 90 minutes in Saudi. I mean, that's how these players are looking at it. To be fair, I'd rather get 0 minutes in the Premier League and say I play for Liverpool than go, honestly. But is that how they think about it at their age though? Now they're looking at money. They're throwing some lucrative money. If he's getting double the wages, holy crap. For somebody like Hendo, come on. When was the last time you saw a club PSG is like, oh my God, we gotta get Jordan Henderson? That's just not gonna happen.
Exactly. But here's the thing. I know you mentioned, like, it would be a good move for Gerrard to bring like Hendo in. Wouldn't it? I mean, here's the thing. Why Hendo? I can only think of, Gerrard's Rolodex is not as well decorated as maybe the Saudis thought. He's like going through over there for their people are like, what is Rolodex? But like when you used to have the cars. And now I'm probably like, you probably remember it. John is like, what is that? I have no idea. What file is that? And then we open it up over here. But like he doesn't have that. And like, for example, to my mind, it comes that wouldn't it be a bigger deal if I'm Gerrard and I'm trying to bring like an attractive name to bring Coutinho, for example, as
Absolutely.
opposed to, right? Like,
Absolutely.
Or, hey, look, Brazil,
Sadio Mane.
tricks and
Mane's a good shout.
He's up for Bayern isn't asking for much money and they're willing to sell it. I know the Saudis are going to go in for him. Why wouldn't it be Gerrard? But here's how I think it happened. The Saudis came to Gerrard and say, okay, you have a player, and he's like, yeah, close. And then he didn't know what to do, so he's like, okay, Jordan Henderson. And let's be real.
Like, just
the Saudis,
like an Arab accent there, because
and then the Saudis
that I will be slammed, but you can get away with
the Saudis didn't know who that is, but they're like, he's British. He's like, yeah, close. And then it's like, okay, grab him, and that's what's going on. But it's gonna be, if he goes, we've just lost our vice captain. We're gonna lose our captain. If he goes, this is probably one of the saddest windows ever. I know Jordan gets a lot of hate. I actually love the guy, and I believe a few years ago, if he didn't get that red card against Newcastle. Fast forward, we go and we face like the last few games of the season, we would have actually won the league.
I think so.
But it's become a harsh business, and in this harsh business, you gotta make these calls. And I think it's an end of an era for our captain.
That's really funny, Anand, because that's how I ended my upcoming piece with Thiago. So I just have to say.
I think I'm having connection issues, and I gotta go.
Yeah, I mean, that's the thing. That would be a sad offseason, really, because that would be like my number one and number two favorite players leaving in the same summer with him and Bobby. I mean, I love Henderson. It's just like his leadership. I understand he's not the player Stevie was, and he's not, like this great player or whatever on the pitch. But man, his leadership, what he does on the pitch, how he has helped his team win. And I honestly don't think that can be duplicated by signing Lavia or Thuram or something like that. It's just not going to happen. I mean, we were talking on Monday Night Podcast with Gally, kind of looking at expiring contracts and stuff like that. And he's not even on there. So his contract must be going at least for another like 3 years because his name didn't even come up in the 24-25 off season. So he must be going until 25-26 maybe. And I just don't see both of them going at the same time. Klopp loves him. Unless, Handel starts jumping up and down and says, I want to go to Saudi Arabia and starts throwing a tantrum during lunch.
Doesn't seem like him.
See going. I would be like, hey, we have like a little small number 6 if you guys are interested. He can do all kinds of tricks and like look at him roll the ball. Look at him how big his eyes get when he fouls and stuff like that, and just send him back in and probably fetch twice the money.
Let me ask you guys. We still got a lot of games coming up next year. We're in Europa. We still got the cups. A lot of Premier League games, of course. You guys don't think, as a rotation option, like sure in the big games, Hendo will be coming off the bench, but the big games are very few and far in between. We still have a lot of games against considerably, lesser talented teams than us. I feel like we could get away with him. We could get away with starting him in several of those games. So,
dude, I watched training, and I was actually going to come over here and talk about. Hey, right. I think people might have written him off way too fast. He looks, first of all, skinnier, but like more muscular, and he was always like a strong dude in midfield. He just looks like a dude that wants that jersey and feels like he's still starting material. And then this news comes out. That's why I'm like, well, that doesn't look that guy. If he came over there, the old Henderson, it feels like he has way too much motivation to say, oh, that money does sound good. Let me go to Saudi Arabia. I mean, that was just an impression. Obviously, we don't know. I'll ask him after the show.
And yeah, please make sure you get on the phone with him and let us know. And to your point, remember, we have the best physios in the world. Our players are injured every other day. So, we could be yeah, they put in a lot of work. But we could be potentially, and it happened last season, it happened the season before. All our players were injured. All the midfield was injured. So do we need depth? Do we need all that? Yes, Premier League, that we got the Carabao Cup, we got the FA Cup, we've got the Europa League. Yes, we will need rotation. We will need players for when players are injured. But is that the role that Henderson wants to play? Is that the role that Thiago wants to play? That's the question. Do these guys want that, or do they just want to go off and just be starters, make that money, cash out, play against Ronaldo and Kante and Benzema and Ruben Neves and, pretty much try that kind of it? Because listen, those guys don't want to live in Saudi, right? But the money is what's going to move them there. You see Ronaldo, he's talking about how it's the greatest thing ever, but then like he can't even go out with his. I'm not even going to go there, but yeah,
Ronaldo probably has his like own mini city over there at this point where he's like importing people in to give us.
Yeah, this is irrelevant. But did you know that the mansion that they bought him has 2 different supermarkets in it and amusement park? This is not a joke. I
read that. That's 2 different. I don't understand. There was competition within the Ronaldo.
Right. Yeah, they got 2 supermarkets. They got an aquatic park. They've got a freaking little amusement park. So there's no going out. So what's Hendo gonna do? Like, I don't know. Listen,
Hendo has 2 little girls, right?
Yeah. So listen, he's out. If you ask me, Thiago stays, becomes the captain and the manager and the greatest player ever, and all of this. No, it's not gonna happen. But to me, I think Hendo's out. I'm done with this. That's it. That's it.
We'll go to the next line while you go get some coffee and wake up.
I think we're also underestimating how much Hendo loves the club. In terms of he's formed such a connection with the local community and everything. Like he was a Sunderland boy, yes, but his period here at the club sort of established himself with the community and everything. So I don't think in terms of him wanting to let go of that. Obviously, I'm just assuming. I'm not speaking for him, right? But knowing how he functions in the community and everything like that, I think that plays a big part as well in terms of making him stay. I mean, I feel like he loves it.
I agree. I'll play devil's advocate. Hendo goes, Van Dijk becomes captain. Who's the vice captain? Is it Trent, Robo, or Salah?
Robo for me.
Probably, man. I don't know who to give that one to now. Do you think long term and give it to Trent? I just don't feel Trent is ready.
Yeah.
Chris says Allison. I think the language barrier
Yeah.
comes into play there. Because his English is. I mean, he's not terrible, but I don't know if he can, explain himself or explain a case to a ref. Not that
Yeah,
those cases
yeah.
make a lot of difference, but I think on paper Robertson seems to be the most logical. But I don't know why.
I think
It's hard to skip Mo. I feel.
yeah, I think it goes to Salah. Remember, you guys, when Trent captained the team, I don't remember which match was it. Salah wasn't too happy. He even spoke
It
about
was
it
like a
after.
League Cup or something.
Yeah,
like
he
that,
even
right?
spoke about it after the game, and I think that opened eyes because not too long later, Salah wore the armband for a game. So I think it goes to Salah based on his record, based on being one of the most senior players in the team. And most importantly, because if he doesn't get it, his agent Rami's going to post some very weird emojis, and then everybody's going to think he's leaving, and we're just not doing that. But I do believe in the long run, it is going to be Trent. In the long run, it will be Trent.
Yeah. So let's skip to the other one. Let's hope for the best. I didn't want to think about it. We'll probably know in the next day or two. Like I say, I literally was watching some of the videos yesterday from training, and I was going to come in this morning and say, hey man, I just don't, this looks like Handel's going to end up starting and carrying this midfield. He looks like he's 28 again. I honestly was. I looked at it and I was like, holy cow, we're watching with my wife. I was like, oh my God, he looks totally different than the guy who left. And I just don't think you do all that boxing so you can go roast in the heats and play in Saudi Arabia in a league that
league does get a little violent.
Cookies instead of boxing, and you could still go to Saudi Arabia and play 90 minutes. So why waste your time boxing over there? But let's hope for the best. If anybody is gonna go, we know who should, and I know.
Nope.
Okay. So. Affiliation Mickey Van de Ven will not move to Liverpool. Of course, I don't know. This is coming from Wolfsburg source over here. I like when Enfield Edition uses these sources as a source. But do you guys see this dude or another center back coming in? This whole Klopp and Schwartz, the consultation about the transfer, it would come too soon for the fan. Like they just had this meeting after the dude has been talked about for a month, or this was a rumor. They were like, we made this shit up anyway. Let's put this away real quietly and then go on to the next one. John, let's start with you on this one. Was this dude a legit rumor in the first place? And do you see another center back coming in?
Well, I certainly hope so, that another center half is coming in, especially if we're going to be playing the box midfield formation that we did last year, because I believe Robertson was the third center back on the left side. Yeah, he's not a center back. So if we're gonna be pushing with that formation, I certainly hope so. If it's Van de Ven, there wasn't anything super concrete with him on our side. So I don't think that's gonna materialize, unfortunately, because I remember Mateusz coming up with the song and everything. It was perfect. I remember clipping that out. I was like, oh, that's absolutely perfect. I hope he signs. But yeah, unfortunately now it's not looking like that he's going to come in. But in terms of getting a center back, yeah, I do hope we try and get one, because another midfielder and another center back, I feel like this is a 10 out of 10 window, honestly.
Yeah, it's not going to happen. I don't even think it was legit to start. But yeah, I didn't see any traction. I didn't see any real sources talking about this. So I don't think it's going to happen. I also don't think, I'm not negative Nancy, okay? But I also don't think... I don't see us signing another center back. I think all the money's going to go into midfield. And I don't know. I mean, Nat Phillips is leaving. He's going to sign for Leeds in the next 48 hours or maybe 3 days or so. So we are generating funds. We are selling. But I just don't see us signing another center back. And honestly, if we're going to sign someone outside of another midfielder, I really think we need a right back. Because if we do move Trent to that midfield role instead of that, inverted wing back, we are going to need a right back to cover that role. And I don't know if Calvin Ramsey is going to fill that role. So I do think we need a right back. I don't think we're going to sign another center back. And I do think we are going to sign another midfielder or two. So I think all the focus goes in the midfield this offseason. Maybe in the January transfer window, we might see a center back, depending on how the first half of the season goes. But if we keep Joe Gomez fit, if we keep Matip fit, we got Konate, we got Big Verge. I think we should be okay for at least the first half of the season.
Chris says a utility right back, center back would be great. If only somebody
Pavard.
like throw. I think that Gomez is that role. Actually, I do not think Trent is going to midfield. I think that's just not happening, and I'm basing that off of the fact that we haven't gotten any center backs, so we haven't gotten any right back. You're not going to implement a back line with dudes that come in late to camp. It just does not make sense to me. So the fact that we haven't had any movement along the back line tells me that we don't see the problem there. We saw the problem in midfield, and that's what we're addressing. Once the midfield fixes itself, and you can use this role for Trent, maybe use it almost sparingly, because you could already see teams reacting to it and defending it differently. So you can add it as a tweak to certain games, mid-game, at the certain parts of the game, and throw another team off, as opposed to taking him away and putting him in midfield. I'm kind of against him going to midfield.
Well, so we also don't want the fans to come out and say, "Wow, Southgate figured out how to use Trent." And club still can't, because Southgate put him in that number 10 role, and that kid was a magician. We've known that. How many times did you guys call for it? A million times. So we've known that Southgate is no genius, but we don't want to be the ones to say, how is it that Southgate knows how to use this guy and not Jurgen? And we also don't want him to miss the Euros next summer, because if he has a horrible season again at right back, we're going to have a problem. He's going to have that reputation stick, and I don't want that, because he might go forward and get some assists, but coming back, if we're still vulnerable on that right side, we're going to have a problem this season. We don't want that.
Southgate is playing in 10 against Malta. I mean, I think people don't understand. First, you're playing with the England squad going against Malta. North Macedonia is a slightly better team. They're not as poor as Malta, obviously, but I mean, one of us could have shown up as 10 again in the Malta game and connected a couple of passes and made a YouTube clip of ourselves as well. I think that is really exaggerating how well he did during that break. My fear is his defending one-on-one has never been an issue, right? And it's been always him losing people making a run, the give and goes and stuff like that. The last thing I want is my midfielder knowing his weakness is losing runs, because I can see attacking midfielders just jogging into the box uncovered because the midfield is not tracking back with him. You can have 5 center backs. If a guy is running at you, not being covered, not being tracked back, you're not going to be able to defend the guy who's already on the move. And that's why I really don't want him there in midfield. I think the inverted right back, in terms of using his creativity, was the best way to go about it. He can still go up the wing if he wants to. And I think, Szoboszlai coming in kind of adds an additional tweak to that, makes it even harder to defend if he's out there with Mo and Trent on that same wing at the same time. I really want him to stay where he was at and kind of like use that inverted role, stay as the right back. And I mean, here's the thing. If he doesn't go to the Euros because he hasn't woken up and fixed his defending, we're not talking about a 35-year-old guy who cannot change his game anymore.
Right.
You know what? Stop watching the ball. Start watching the guy.
Right.
Follow the give and goes. I mean, it's a little tweak he has to make in his game to move forward. I mean, you would think down the road he could be like a really good defensive midfielder or a center midfielder as he ages, perhaps. And you got to be able to kind of like adjust your game. I feel like people are trying to say, oh, he can't defend that, let's put him in midfield. And I even heard, like, we had discussions where he's like, oh, he doesn't look as interested. You know what, man? It's your freaking job. Do your freaking job. Be interested. I mean, you can't just be, if he's in midfield, I'm only interested in making assists. We're in a world of hurt anyway. And that's why I kind of want him to stay where he's at. Where are you at with the Trent thing, John? I don't know if we ever asked the midfield, back where he's at.
Well, I think the inverted right back role really maximized in terms of like his abilities and everything. It basically put it center stage, because when he was right back, he still was overlapping with Salah and everything. But here in the more central role, like, you saw how great his passing is. Like, when he was at right back, it was a lot of crossing. Mostly the crossing was superb, but putting him central, you could just see the range of vision. I dare say Beckham-esque. I dare say that Trent is the closest player I've seen to David Beckham in this era. But I do feel like, and this might be a hot take of mine. I do feel that Klopp is gonna start with the 4-3-3 next year. I feel like Trent is gonna come into a right back position, and we're gonna have Fab and the two midfielders, Szoboszlai and McAllister, more central compared to the box midfield. I feel like we'd start with that formation and see how it goes because Klopp hasn't instilled that formation for years just to let it go at the first sign of adversity. Based on I think Matush sent it on the Discord last night. Szoboszlai did the best in the lactate test along with McAllister. So it means that these guys can absolutely run. And one of our biggest weaknesses last year was that our press was so easily broken at the 4-3-3 because Henderson and Thiago couldn't press anymore as well as they could. So having these guys, I saw that look, Anon. But I having these guys, back to my point, having these two guys out there who could absolutely just run for days and press like madmen, it's gonna be a difference maker. I feel in terms of bringing back that 4-3-3. Now, I wouldn't throw the box midfield formation away just yet, but I do feel like Klopp has to give the 4-3-3 a go again before committing full time to Trent, as an inverted right back. We'll see how it goes, but
I mean, part of the concept of not doing the U.S. tour and stuff like that.
Right.
I mean, we all took it as we got stuff to implement, we got stuff to work on. Stop freaking traveling. We need to practice. So we're doing a trip where we're still doing a trip, but there's not as much traveling. The only one way in, one way out, as opposed to rolling around the U.S. 4-hour flights at a time. Which I understand that obviously it's not cool for us not to be able to catch games, but I'd rather have them practice than being watched by me and then be tired mid-season. But I just take it like, Anand, that, because we did not bring in those people yet, like the center back and stuff like that, this is the core that we're rolling with, and everything is being implemented right now. We even saw it with Fab. Even if we get a guy that we really wanted, blah, 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 it's going to be a while before he is plugged into the system that's well established. I just take it as the fact that we have not. I mean, Sir Z says, and I do agree that we do need another CV. But then again, now I can see why this kid would not want to come and look at the squad and be like, when am I going to play? You guys already have 4 over there that know the system on top of everything. I'm going to be like, oh, he's learning the system and put in the back burner. I mean, does that signal that to you as well? Or you think we're like, well, let's sell first and then we'll see how much money we have in the wallet. We'll go keep spending again.
I think it's a little bit of both, no? Because like you said, it's the core that's available. That's what you got now. That's what you got to work with. And they're already started working. They're doing the fitness test. They're doing the lactate test. And then they're like, okay, this is what we got. This is what we're going to do this season. But if the opportunity permits and the money comes in and there is a player like a center back, like Sir Z just said, we need another center back. Like if we do find a proper center back that will fit in this team, then they'll go for it. But again, to your point, I just don't see it happening because the season is technically already going. Training's already started. The guys are working on the core. The program is already set. They're being programmed for whatever is going to happen for the next year or so. So I don't see another center back coming. If the money's there, maybe. But I think if the money comes in, the signing is going to be Thuram or most likely Lavia. Yep. And I think the Lavia deal is done.
I don't know if that's happening. I don't know if Chelsea, I mean, obviously Chelsea doesn't want it happening. And I don't know if we're going to spend what Chelsea wants us to spend. Really depends on how bad Colwell wants out of there too, how much he forces it, I guess. But yeah, I mean, that's probably homegrown wise, need wise, seems like a great fit on paper. I just don't think it's going to happen. So let me ask you guys this time. We'll start with you, John. If this is the off season, if I give you this current stat, like as the off season, where you bring McAllister, you bring Szoboszlai, and that's it. We needed midfielders. There you go, 2 world-class midfielders. We go again. Are you happy with that off season, or what are you giving that off season out of 10?
Probably a 6.5 because we do need more bodies. We're gonna be relying heavily on the health of Henderson and Thiago, and if hopefully Fabinho has regained some sort of his form, hopefully he starts to know how to play football again. We're going to be relying on a lot of unknowns if we're going to be going into this year with just these two, because like you said, there is a buffer period for these two signings. Like maybe Klopp might start one or two immediately when the season starts, but I don't think he's going to be starting both immediately. Like I would agree with you, Tim, that if we're going into this season with just these guys, I would bet that either Soboslai or McAllister starts along with Henderson and Fabinho, during our on our first game, because I don't think he starts with these two immediately. So again, there is a buffer period for those guys, and again, it would rely heavily on if I think we're going to be relying on Fabinho a lot actually this year to see if he's still got it, because if we're not going to be getting another defensive midfielder to cover him, then again it's a big gamble. Uh, Again, yeah, 6.5. We definitely need more guys in. I wouldn't be happy. I would trust Klopp, but we'd be playing with fire again. I wouldn't say that we'd be expecting a challenge for the league or anything. Coming into this year with just those two signings, probably just getting back into the top four would be our best goal.
That's fair. I mean,
Yeah.
Chris says we brought in two to replace
Right.
four, and yeah, I mean, they're going to be like, well, how about some of the youth guys and stuff like that? But I agree. I think I'd be happy with the squad overall when you look at a depth chart, if you will. But knowing past experiences with midfield and defense and stuff like that, I would be just worried that which line is going to falter. Is it going to be the back line again? Are we going back 2 years, 3 years back where the back line suffers, or is this midfield? If something happens to one of those guys that you mentioned that are starting, aren't we back on the same boat? And I know the expectations are really high for Jones and stuff. I'm trying to tame those down. Anan has fans. I'm assuming that's Thiago's fake Facebook account over here.
Thiago's kids.
How about you,
Anan? It's
grades.
It's a 7 for me. We did sign two midfielders, one with great Premier League experience in McAllister, World Cup champ, and then Dominic Szoboszlai. We signed one of the best young midfielders in the world, 22 years old. 22 years old, won a trophy every single season of his career. Creative, fast, can strike the ball, and has got some of the most beautiful passing I've ever seen. So 7 out of 10. Amazing, wonderful. We are, however, I did see the comment that's, I believe, Chris. He said we got two players to replace 4. Keita and Ox hardly ever played. And I love them both. Hardly ever played. Milner played about 18 minutes average a game, give or take. And then if Hendo leaves, that's our captain. But the two guys we brought in are going to be, I'm going to disagree with John completely and say they're going to start from the first moment of the season. And the question is, who starts with them, Fabinho or Fabinho and Thiago? How are we going to play that midfield? But remember also, there's another thing we're forgetting. Harvey Elliott, Curtis Jones, and Stefan Bajcetic. I think the kid still has a shot at starting. Bajcetic still has a chance at starting. He is one of our most creative players. So I think we've got that attacking role covered. We will need one more holding midfielder. Lavia, that's all the talk, and I wouldn't mind splurging for him when Hendo leaves. But I think it's a 7 out of 10. One more holding midfielder to come in, and honestly, it'll be a 10 out of 10 for me. Curtis Jones is going to see a lot more minutes this season. Stefan Bajcetic, I think he's going to play a lot more this season, and the GOAT is going to be fit. And I think we're going to have a good season in midfield. Yes. I think we're going to have a good season in midfield. My biggest concern is the back line. That's really my biggest concern for the season. How are they going to fare? Is Verge going to stay healthy? Is Gomez going to stay healthy? Is Konate going to stay healthy? I'm not even going to ask about Matip. So that's the biggest fear I have going into the season. We might have starting to have issues halfway through the season, especially as we get to that Boxing Day. So as we get to that holiday calendar, are our defenders healthy? That's my biggest fear.
Yeah, I think that's probably why it's going to be interesting when we have some of these guys from the other clubs show up on the morning show. Got to ask them and see, because I think we are looking at the squad. If somebody else from outside is looking at the squad, they might see it maybe a lot better than how we see it, because we kind of have a built-in paranoia about injuries, like having had the injuries with the center backs and then having had the injuries with midfield. We're kind of fearing that if you kind of took that away, if you look at overall quality, to me, still, I mean, if you feel Besetic is going to be good enough and healthy enough to go, I feel like bringing Lavia doesn't that, bring in defensive. And I know we tried Besetic, play the Curtis Jones role and stuff like that, and he's been able to do that. He's played where Ando was and stuff like that. But I feel like he's still more of like the holding guy. Maybe does not have the size for it like Fab does. But I still think when we line up on opening day, Hando's out there and Fab is out there, probably with McAllister, is my feeling. Just because, it's because it's a Chelsea game. We're not playing at home against like Burnley or something like that. And I think just knowing Klopp and how long it takes for him to feel confident that you're ready to roll in the system, I just think that's the starting 11 right there, because I still feel like Hando's staying. But
I can already see the comments. Henderson starting? This isn't 2018. This isn't 2019.
Well,
and that's why when I saw that yesterday, like I say, I basically was thinking this mainly knowing Klopp more than anything else. But when I see the Henderson I saw yesterday, I was like, man, this guy is going to make his way, work his way, force his way, if you will, into that starting 11 is my feeling. But Anana's already selling him off over here and stuff like that. So,
Tim, I have to ask you, you at least have to have a Henderson jersey, right?
I actually don't buy any jerseys with names.
That is fair. That is fair.
Yeah, I don't have any names on the back, because then you end up like an Anna over here wearing a guy's jersey and he's sold. You don't want that.
May I say this was a birthday present?
Yeah, you know what? Let's let it pass. It was a birthday present. So I
every
love how whoever
birthday,
gave you that,
me a Thiago shirt.
whoever gave you that gift though is like, yeah, that person must be very near and dear to you. So
Ellen is already sending you the sky. We just brought him over here, man. He's not going anywhere. Hold on. Once Thiago goes, he might be in Saudi Arabia anyway. Like
I will be doing this in Arabic. Thiago.
You see, I was wondering where Saido was. Saido probably heard the news of Henderson possibly leaving a ran over here with excitement. But don't get excited, kids. I really feel he's staying. I just don't think. I think being a captain, the role he plays, the leadership role he plays, and being Henderson, the captain of Liverpool, means a lot more to him than doubling the paycheck. I might be wrong.
I agree.
I am misreading them, but I really feel like to him, it's a lot more important.
You're absolutely right. This guy is one of the most professionals I've ever seen. Never have we ever heard two things about Hendo, talking about minutes or talking about money. And that's why I absolutely, jokes aside, I absolutely adore the guy. Like, to me, Henderson is the proper definition of a Liverpool captain.
Yeah.
So I don't want to be mistaken for any clip that comes out. Absolute legend, absolute unit. And I just saw his picture. I got scared, so I backtracked everything I said, because this dude looks like a tank, and I am not messing. He is going to come for me, and I am not messing with that.
Watch that training video, and it's like he looks like a different dude. And actually, another person who looks different is Trent. Not only the haircut, I know that was like the big issue, but he definitely looks bigger.
In off season, he was climbing mountains. Did you guys read that?
Trent was climbing mountains.
Yeah, he was scaling mountains in off season. He wasn't like taking a vacation. He was scaling mountains.
Whatever he was doing, he looks bigger.
Yeah.
So, okay, before we go, what is your guys' gut feeling? Is this how we're rolling, you think, Anan, or more moves on the way? Incoming. Let's talk incoming. I think there's definitely some outgoing, but
2 more moves incoming. Two more moves incoming.
John, put a number on it.
One more move maybe, and probably a midfielder. I'm really feeling Lavia. Unfortunately, Anan, I think it's at the cost of your boy, but again, it's just a prediction.
I was about to wrap things up, but then Sayo dropped the bombshell over here, so I got to put this on the screen before we go. That Thiago's the experienced player, but his injury issues led to our downfall last season, so he should go. On that note, Eden is already leaving, so we should probably go as well. We're going to be down to 2 either freaking way. So
I am blocking him. He is.
Well, that's it for us today. We'll be back Friday. I would think by then we will have probably a lot more definite answers about Hando and everything as well, and perhaps a move or whatever. I highly doubt that latter part, but definitely the Hando part I think should become a lot more clear. Because if you think about it, the all the rumors that I like shared earlier, all those headlines are kind of like bouncing off of each other.
Yeah.
Like basically, ultimately, what we know is Stevie G would want him. Who wouldn't? Why wouldn't he? But it's his decision, obviously, because we're not going to force him out. So hopefully he's staying, and we're going to be uh, starting him against Chelsea in the starting 11. And then, maybe
Who
we'll send
knows? It might be Thiago.
yeah, maybe we'll send somebody else that way. So that's what I was envisioning. Like, they're like asking Hando, and Thiago's over there tying his shoes, or getting his leg wrapped, or whatever he does in the training room, and because he's hurt or he has a knock or something. And he was like, "Wait, they're still signing guys," and then he will be interested, and we can sell him for 40. But we'll see what happens. So we'll be back Friday morning. I know Anan is with me, and I think Kazi is going to be joining us Friday morning. So we'll be back then. You guys take care. Have a great hump day. John's favorite day, apparently. So you guys have a good one. Take care.